My name is Eric Larson. I was born in Norway, but when I was a child, my parents moved to the United States. Even though I grew up here, people often said I carried the spirit of my ancestors. The blood of the Vikings still flowed in me, strong, restless, always chasing the horizon.
For more than 20 years, I worked as a tower climber. Mobile communication towers, some stretching hundreds of feet into the sky. Dangerous, exhausting, but strangely freeing. I traveled across the country with a team of guys who became my second family. We laughed, we worked, we lived on the road. I had no wife, no kids, just short affairs during business trips, never anything permanent. I told myself I liked it that way. Freedom, no promises, no obligations, just the road, the height, and the wind. And the money was good, really good. I never checked price tags. I sent money to my parents back in Minnesota, bought myself a new truck every few years, and lived like a man who believed nothing could stop him. But one thing about life is that it never asks your permission before punching you in the face. One moment you're invincible, the next you're lying on the ground wondering what the hell just happened. It was supposed to be a routine day. Easy tower, good weather, equipment checked twice. I had climbed higher, done harder jobs. I wasn't even thinking about danger. That's the worst part, when you stop respecting the risk. At around 150 feet up, I heard a metallic snap. For a split second, I thought it was someone else's gear. Then the weight shifted, my harness jerked, and the world flipped upside down. People say that when you fall, your whole life flashes before your eyes. That's a lie. When you fall, there's no time for memories. There's only one thought screaming in your head. This is it. I don't remember the impact. They told me later that emergency services arrived in record time. My leg was crushed, bone shattered, blood everywhere. I woke up in the hospital with metal rods inside me and pain I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. The doctors said I was lucky to be alive. But when they told me I would never be cleared for high-altitude work again, I didn't feel lucky at all. They didn't just take away my job, they took away my identity. For the first time in my life, I had nowhere to go. No tower to climb, no team waiting for me, no purpose. I lay in that hospital bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering if my life had ended, even though my heart was still beating. After a few weeks, they transferred me to a rehabilitation center. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't care about recovery. What was the point? To walk again? For what? So I could sit at home and watch TV like some retired old man? Then I met her, my physical therapist. Name was Megan. Early 40s, strong build, calm voice, sharp eyes. She didn't treat me like a broken hero. She treated me like a stubborn idiot who needed discipline. On our first session, she said, "Stand up." I said, "I can't." She replied, "You won't." That pissed me off. In a good way. From that moment, something shifted inside me. For the first time since the accident, I didn't want to give up. Not because I believed in myself, but because I refused to let her win. Days turned into weeks. Pain became routine. Sweat, trembling muscles, cursing under my breath. That was my new life. Megan didn't praise me. She didn't comfort me. She just pushed me forward, one step at a time. Sometimes I hated her for it. Other times, I was grateful. Because when you're standing in front of someone who refuses to let you quit, quitting suddenly feels like betrayal. One evening, after a brutal session, I said, "You know, most people would be nicer to a man who almost died. She looked at me and said, "You didn't die, so stop acting like you did." That hit harder than any injury, because she was right. I survived the fall, but I was still lying down inside my head, and until I stood up mentally, my body would never follow. Weeks later, I started walking without crutches. Still limping, still in pain, but walking. Megan crossed her arms and said, "Told you." I wanted to joke, but instead I just smiled. Somewhere along the way, our conversation stopped being just about exercises and recovery. We talked about life, movies, music. She told me she'd been divorced for 3 years. I told her I'd been married to danger my whole life. One day, she surprised me. After the session, she said, "You're officially no longer a patient, so you can buy me coffee without it being weird." I froze. This woman, who terrified me more than a 300-foot tower, was asking me out? "Is this a test?" I asked. "Only if you fail it," she said. We went to a small cafe near the rehab center. I ordered a double espresso. She ordered cinnamon tea. "Tea?" I asked. "Espresso at 6 p.m.?" she replied. We laughed. For the first time, as two people, not therapist and patient. After coffee, she asked, "Think you can walk home?" "I can walk to Canada if I have to," I said. "Tonight, the park will be fine," she replied. So we walked through the park. Evening. Streetlights glowing like soft lanterns. Flowers barely visible in the dark, but their scent made the air alive. I walked slowly, still limping, and for the first time, I didn't try to hide it. That limp wasn't weakness, it was a battle scar. She didn't rush me, didn't talk too much, just walked beside me. Then she asked, "Do you miss the height?" I looked up at the dark sky. "I miss myself," I said. "Up there, I was me." Megan stopped walking. I turned to her. "You're still you," she said quietly. "You just haven't met this version yet." Those words, they hit deeper than any doctor's diagnosis. No one had ever said something like that to me. Not with such certainty. From that evening on, our walks became a ritual. Rehab by day, healing by night. Some nights we joked. Some nights we talked about fears we never admitted to anyone. She told me she once dreamed of becoming a dancer, but a knee injury ended that. Instead of giving up, she chose to help others walk again. "So you're a fallen warrior too?" I asked. "More like a retired assassin," she smirked. God, that smile. It made gravity feel optional. Weeks turned into months. My leg grew stronger. My mind too. The mirror no longer reflected a broken man, just a rebuilt one. One evening, as we sat on a bench under a street lamp, I said, "Do you think I'll ever feel alive again?" She didn't answer right away. Then she leaned in closer and whispered, "Do you feel dead now?" I swallowed. "No." "Then stop looking backward," she said. "Life doesn't only happen at the top of a tower." We sat there in silence. The kind of silence that isn't empty, it's full of unsaid things. Finally, without planning it, I reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. Instead, she interlaced her fingers with mine. No thunder, no fireworks, just warmth. Real, steady warmth. And suddenly, I didn't miss the sky as much. I never thought I'd be afraid of standing on solid ground, I said. She smiled softly. "That's because you've never stayed long enough to see what grows there." That night, I realized I had spent my whole life climbing, up towers, up risks, up adrenaline. But maybe true courage wasn't in going higher. Maybe it was in staying. And for the first time in my life, I wanted to stay. My official discharge from rehab came in early spring. The doctor signed my papers and said, "You're free to go." Free to go where? For once in my life, I didn't have a job site waiting. No crew, no next tower to climb. But I did have someone waiting. Megan was standing outside by her car, holding 2 coffees. "So," she said casually, "any plans?" "Not yet," I replied. "Good," she said. "Means I get to make the first one." She drove us to a hill overlooking the city, the kind of view I used to see from antennas and steel beams, only this time I didn't need a harness. We sat on the hood of her car. The wind was cool. The world was quiet. I used to think I only felt alive when I was above everything, I admitted. "And now?" she asked. Now, I looked at her. Now I think I was wrong. She smiled. "Good, because I don't plan on climbing anything higher than that bench we sat on last week." I laughed, really laughed. Not out of politeness, not out of nostalgia, out of joy. She kissed me back, slow, steady, certain, like she had already decided we were inevitable. Maybe I'll never climb again. Maybe I'll never feel steel under my boots or hear the wind howling from 800 feet up. But I've learned something far more important. You don't need to stand above the world to feel on top of it. If you're reading this and you've lost something, a job, a dream, a purpose, listen to a man who once hung from the sky and then crashed to the ground. Life doesn't end when you fall. It begins when you stand again, even if it's on new legs. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and write in the comments what you would have done if you were in Michael's place.